Good afternoon, Mr. Rallan, and welcome to IPF exclusive video interview. How are you, sir?
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for this invite. I'm very delighted to be here on this chat conversation with you and your viewers. Thank you very much. These are, tough times, but we will get on with it.
Okay, so before we begin, can you just brief us about J Matadee company and how it has come into existence?
J Matadee Free Trade Zone was given its approval in 2008 as the first notified free trade and warehousing zone here in Chennai. As some of your viewers might know, that in India there are three operational FTWZs, and we were the first ones to get started here in the south in Chennai. So we actually got operational with our first client DHL Logistics in 2010, and we've been growing the whole business model since then.
Okay, so who are your main tenants, users of Chennai FEZ?
Our main, the anchor client was to start with was DHL. They were the anchor client, and then as the business started, now we currently have companies like TVS, Toyota, Susho, which is a big client. We have Kerry Indev, which is a JV of Indev India and Kerry from Hong Kong, which is a major operator. We have other clients like Seaways, Minerva, Loam Logistics, which is a Korean company. We have FM Logistics, which is from Singapore. So overall, we have close to around 10 logistic companies who are operating their units in the zone, because our model is we have been promoting the business with the logistic companies, that is the 3PL companies primarily, who in turn work with a large number of clients.
So, just what's the total area of this Chennai FTZ, and how much has been occupied by the users till now?
The total land area is around 250 acres, and in the first phase, we have developed and built close to around 1 million square feet of warehousing, A-grade warehousing space, and this entire space is fully leased out and operational. Because in our zone, we are not offering any vacant plotted sites to units for their development, because right from the beginning we have been clear we don't want to be in a real estate play. So we only offer built up space, which is for clients who are looking for plug and play facilities.
Okay. So why free trade zones are important for India's economic development?
Free trade zones, if you see anywhere in the world, play a very important role, because even in India, a free trade zone like ours has been promoted with the concept of plugging in the global supply chain with Indian industry, and plugging in the Indian industry with the global markets. For example, in the free trade zone, we have seen there are many foreign suppliers who are holding their inventory in the zone on account of the foreign supplier, which means they bring in the product and their material inside the zone on their own account without really having any Indian entity as the importer. So from the zone, they are able to give just-in-time deliveries to the end Indian DTA consumer or the customer, and give them the just-in-time delivery advantage is phenomenal for the manufacturing sector, because a lot of industries we have seen practically now, who were earlier carrying 2 to 3 months of inventory of raw material and components in their own manufacturing facilities. Now they carry less than 2 days or maybe 3 days of inventory in their own manufacturing facilities. This brings down, the cost of financing of raw material at the back end for the manufacturing companies, and they can get it just in time without having to have large financial monies being locked in inventory. And the same thing works, for the exports, because in the zone, the foreign buyer can keep the product which they procure from the Indian domestic exporters. They can keep it in the zone on the foreign buyer's account, which means that when a export is done from a DTA factory to the foreign buyer, once the delivery is made into the free trade zone, the exporter's export obligation is completed, and the goods now belong to the foreign buyer. So the foreign buyer now, he's able to aggregate procurements from various factories which are coming into the zone, and thereafter he does the value added services of picking and repacking from these different suppliers of DTA's factories and make them into new mixed product parcels, which are then ready for the foreign store shelves. This activity was earlier being done in Singapore or in Malaysia or in China or maybe in the US. Now these value added activities are being done right here in Chennai inside the zone, and product is directly exported to the end users shelves directly.
So what's the driving the demand for Chennai FTZs like Chennai?
See, number one, we are close to the port. Number two, almost 10 years ago, the Japanese government, uh, which was fronted by JICA and by JETRO, they had come up with a report to create a supply chain corridor, which included, right from Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, and India. And in India, it actually terminates right here in Chennai, extending from Chennai to Bangalore, which is the Chennai Bangalore Industrial Corridor. So this whole area was envisaged to become a large manufacturing supply chain hub, and that's what we are seeing today, actually, panning out.
Okay. So what is the impact of automation and digitization on the warehousing zones?
See, currently in the warehousing zones, all our units are using advanced IT systems for warehousing management systems, where all the product which comes in is tracked by RIFD and by other such tools, and both the supplier and the end consumers of these products which are kept inside the warehouse is all technology connected, so that at any given point of time, the foreign supplier or the foreign buyer has a complete visibility of what product quantities, amounts are available, in which exact locations it is available. And from the customer, let's say the DTA customer who is going to pull this cargo, he also has a clear visibility of what components and items are available in the supply chain, and he's able to, from their own factories, able to log in their orders, and deliveries are made from the zone. So to that extent, in terms of warehousing management system, it is highly automated with these IT platforms. But I think after seeing what is happening now with the COVID-19 situation, we see more scope and room for automation, where you will have robotics coming in gradually and slowly to do the exact pick and pack activity, because social distancing now is going to be the new normal in the world going forward. This is not going away anywhere soon.
Yeah.
So we see that happening very quickly. In
Yeah.
terms of
Just now.
digitization, just to answer your question of digitization, a lot of the processes, like the receiving the cargo into the zone and exporting the cargo from the zone, it's all, all the documentation and paperwork is all filed online, because we have a platform called the SEZ online, where the units are able to, do all their filing online and move the cargo both inbound and ship the cargo which is outbound.
Okay. Just now you touched upon the impact of COVID and the impact, like the social distancing becoming a norm. So how it has impacted Chennai FT zones business activity in the last couple of months.
See, in the last couple of months, we have seen a drop in the total volumes and in the throughput going through, because the number of import containers that have been coming in, we've seen a drop of almost 45-50% of the volume of cargo coming in, and likewise in the cargo going out, because the supply chain manufacturing companies have been in a shutdown lockdown mode for quite some time. And the government of India's Ministry of Home Affairs, directives have been to have a complete lockdown. On 15th of April, MHA guidelines were given to allow a gradual opening up of these special economic zones for export purposes. But individual states were given the prerogative of implementing these relaxed reopening schemes, or local states were required to take that call. And in Tamil Nadu, because we have still some hotspots, the Tamil Nadu government decided to keep the lockdown going till the 4th of May. But in the interim period, units which are handling medical equipment and pharmaceuticals, they have been, allowed to keep working despite this lockdown. And for these people who are coming in, and for whenever the lockdown is relaxed, we have already got our SOPs in place, where every person who's coming in has to be, checked before he enters the zone, in terms of sanitization, in terms of wearing a mask and gloves, and checking their temperatures with the thermal scanner. The vehicles are also being disinfected when they enter the zone, and thereafter when they enter the unit premises, the units also undertake a similar sanitization activity. And within the units itself, they have a standard protocol which is to be followed as per the MHA guidelines for safety and sanitization. So these protocols are already in place and being strictly followed.
So post lockdown, what challenges do you anticipate uh, for in general the manufacturing sector, and that effect or the impact of that on free trade zones like Chennai?
See, the one impact that will be there is getting back to normalcy after lockdown is not just going to be a challenge for Chennai FTZ, but it's going to be a national challenge, because number one, like I said, social distancing is now going to be a new normal. Now, in the Chennai SEZ itself, because the warehousing activity that is involved, there are some areas which can be labor intensive, where the stickering and labeling and pick and pack activity is being done. But fortunately, these are large warehouses, so the units will have to reconfigure their lines, where they will have to ensure that social distancing of at least 6 feet plus is maintained between two people, as per the guidelines which are given. So the units themselves are not going to face that much of a challenge, because space is not a constraint for them. But looking at their customers, who are manufacturing companies, in the DTA, or whose products are being exported, they are going to face some challenges, because many of these factories, which are with a large labor force, for them to and bring about the social distancing will mean that the whole choreography of the manufacturing process will have to be substantially changed and revived before they can come back to normalcy. But I think this process will take 4 to 6 months after the lockdown is relaxed, for them to come back into the regular scale of manufacturing and production. But on the positive side, there is definitely, a lot of potential for these zones and for Indian manufacturing to grow going forward.
Just now you spoke about the potential of Indian economy and the manufacturing and also uh, this, free trade zones grow. So what kind of new opportunities you are looking at to drive your business in future?
See, in December of 2019, the government of India brought about a very proactive policy by which they made all the special economic zones, including ours, into multi-sector special economic zones. So, which means we were earlier permitted to do only warehousing activity. Now we can do including manufacturing activity and services. So we see that as a major driver, because a lot of the manufacturing companies in the supply chain are now looking to relocate from China and from that part of the world into other geographies, and India is definitely a very important and an attractive destination for that. So our business model actually fits into their kind of requirement, because we, as a business model, we don't give land on lease for 30 years or 50 years and then expect the foreign unit to get the approvals and build factories and then invest into assets which are there for a long term. So we are offering them plug and play facilities, whereby it's a pure leasing model. So it's only a monthly lease rental which is paid, and this becomes very attractive and very easy for these foreign companies to come in, because within 90 days of their deciding to start their business, they can become operational.
Thanks, Mr. Rallan, for sharing spending time with IPF Magazine and sharing your insight into the business of free trade zones. So we'd also like to extend our best wishes for you in future.
Thank you very much for this call, and thank you very much for the conversation. Stay safe and take care. Thank you.